Hey, Mick, I want to start off by giving you some appreciation and for everything that you've done in the wrestling entertainment world. You are a huge part of me growing up, and you've helped to make me who I am in a lot of ways, and I will forever appreciate everything that you have done, everything that you have sacrificed. Um, but I want to have a little bit of a conversation that's as open and honest as you are presenting here. I'm just some guy. You could say I'm a fan, whatever. But I just want to have a small. I want to say something based off of what you have talked about. So let's get this started.
Hello, everybody. This is Mick Foley, the hardcore legend, and this is an earnest and honest attempt to talk to Republicans and independents who are not so far gone that they can still think for themselves. Now, if you're one of those people, like a close relative of mine, who certainly seem to feel like Alex Preddy and Renee Good deserve to die, then I'm not talking to you. Thank you for your support, and you can just, watch it and leave a mean comment or get out of the conversation.
So just really quick on this, I think that anybody who thinks that those two individuals deserved to die, honestly, I think that is a very, very, very minute, small number of people, and it's very possible that they are more reacting because they are so upset and they don't have any control over the situation, so they just go to the most extreme. And maybe there's a relationship there that has kind of devolved into, I'm more interested in hurting your feelings than having a productive conversation. The Alex Preddy and Renee Good situation, I don't know anybody who believes that they should have died or that they deserved to die. The situation that, as I understand it, as I've heavily investigated this, is that there is a narrative that has been put out there that villainizes ICE agents. And what it has caused is members of the public to go out and harass and obstruct ICE operations. And what happens is that when you put yourself in between ICE and their operations, and you can create situations where you are in danger. When you take the situation of Renee Good, she was putting herself in a dangerous situation, and she stepped on the gas and ran into the ICE officer who shot her. When you look at Alex Preddy, he brought a gun to an ICE to a raid or an investigation or whatever it was, and intervened with the ICE agents, got up in their face, resisted arrest. The gun was found, chaos ensued, and then he got shot and killed tragically. What our perspective is not that these people deserved to die. It's that we are upset that these people are being led into these positions through this narrative. That's the problem that we have. And so we have an understanding for why they died. They didn't die just because. They died because they put themselves in these dangerous situations.
Now, what I'm talking about is appealing to good-hearted, sensible people who cannot believe that the way immigrants are treated in this country is correct. Now, I was listening to a TV station where they talked about how 65% of Americans think ICE has gone too far, and they thought that was good for America, where I was left thinking, wait, 35%?
So what that is indicating is that if you think about it, we understand that there is a severe problem in our country, and it has to do with the immigration that occurred under Biden. Kamala Harris was part of the border. She was like the border czar, and she in effect did nothing to prevent anybody from coming and entering into our country. There were people from all over the world. We don't know who they are. We don't know what their history is. We don't know anything about them, and they were just let into our country. And that is a very scary thing, especially when you have all of these stories that are coming out where there's murders and rapes and beatings and stabbings and people being lit on fire, like horrible things. And then here's situations where somebody falls asleep at the wheel and plows through several cars in a semi truck, or makes a U-turn on the highway and decapitates an entire family. These are major concerns that we have, and these were things that were not happening prior, and they're just becoming more and more. So we have to step in and take severe actions. And what's happening is that there's this narrative where what the ICE officers are trying to do is to find these people and remove them, because it's just gotten so bad. There's so many that, look, when you allow in 10 million plus people within 4 years, that is an astonishing, unstable number of people. You can see in New York and Chicago, places where these people have migrated to, they are draining these state systems, and they're becoming broke. There's massive problems, and we have to fix it. Otherwise, our country gets destroyed. And whereas maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, we weren't really concerned about taking the guy over at Home Depot and removing him from this, deporting him. But now, because it's so bad, we've just like, you know what, the goodwill to just say, hey, you know what, we're just going to shrug our shoulders. It's faded away, because we feel as though our big heart of just allowing people to come in and just kind of like saying, okay, sure, they came here illegally, but they're not really doing anything. Well, now we feel abused because we're seeing negative things happen, and now we have to take bigger actions to fix this stuff. And so that's what we're focused on.
The American public is for this. I'm sorry, but I cannot believe that. I refuse to believe it. I refuse to believe that 3.5 out of every 10 Americans I meet would be in favor of our fellow human beings, our brothers and sisters, being treated in such an inhumane fashion. I refuse to believe it, because if 3.5 out of 10 people I meet are for that, that means far more than 3.5 out of 10 who are not people of color are for it, even more males. This is just me in my head doing the math. And that means like, no, we're all better than this. I'm not saying this in a...
Nobody wants to have to do any of these things. And the problem is that it's just gotten so bad that we have to remove them. And when we have situations where where the public are making that a lot more difficult. Look, we set up a situation where we said, hey, if you can register and you can say, hey, if you're here illegally, self-deport, we'll even pay for your ticket, you can go, and you'll even be put on a list that allows you to be able to come back. And all of these people, they're choosing not to do this. Instead, they're risking it, and they're running, and they're preventing themselves, they're hiding, they're not following the law. And we are at a stage now where we're not tolerating that kind of stuff anymore. We were okay with just letting a lot of things slide in the past, but it's a lot harder for us to do that now when we can see where things are going, and it's not going in a positive, nice place. I'm sorry that these situations don't look like they're the nicest kind of situations, and maybe they could. I wish that it was like, hey, you know what, we can handle all of this stuff with kitty gloves. It's like, but look at what's happening to these ICE agents. Like, they have to be very cautious. There's a lot that's not okay, and it's not all on the ICE. There has to be some accountability for the people who are creating these situations that we then have to solve. We have to deal with these. We have to provide the solutions for these things. And where's the accountability for the problems that we now have to solve? And if we're going to be villainized for the problems that were created by somebody else, I don't know what to tell you. We're not bad guys. It's just the situation has really gotten very severe.
Condescending fashion. I'm saying I know because I spent time with you. When I say that, I mean I spent 15 years riding the roads with a variety of different...
Okay. All of this stuff, yes, Yes, we are all good people. What this reminds me of is back in 2016 during that election, I voted for Hillary Clinton, and I 99% believed that she was going to win the election. And when she lost, I was faced with kind of a very similar question. Am I really willing to accept and believe that half of the American public are horrible, awful, racist, terrible people? And I just simply could not do it. I could not do it. So what I did is I took a step back. I understood that, hey, you know what? I must be wrong. I must be missing something. There must be something I'm missing. So I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to listen to what my opposition has to say from an open mind, and I'm going to understand their perspective from their perspective. And that's a very important thing. We can have our own worldview and then look onto somebody else's worldview and then judge it. But it's a very different thing to insert yourself into their worldview so that you can then judge their worldview. That's what I did, and I found out, oh, these actually are not bad people. I do understand what they're doing. I understand why they're doing it. It all makes sense. It's not actually bad. They're not evil. And I think that that's something that you should consider checking out.
Wrestling friends and travel partners, one of whom I would consider to be very progressive. That would be Jim Cornette. The others, not going to make anybody's list of progressives and definitely going to lean conservative, independent to conservative. I never had any problems with a single one of them. We had discussions, not arguments. I know it because when I was struggling, you were the people who let me stay in your spare room or on your couch because I didn't have money for a motel. You were the people, the guy who may have been wearing a MAGA hat, gladly giving me instructions when my GPS wasn't working. You are the people who smile with joy when I bounced your children on my knee as Santa Claus. And when you take the photos and you hug your children at my appearances in small towns.
We love you, Mick. We do.
Across this country, and I've worked in every single state, red, blue, and purple, and I've felt the love everywhere I've been. And I just refuse to believe that these people who treat me with such kindness would turn a blind eye to the cruelty that this administration is inflicting on us.
Consider that the perspective that you see us in is not a correct perspective.
Others.
This one, I wanted to kind of stop on this one and just kind of point out that when I look at this, I see emotional manipulation. I see, because I know this situation. I know what happened here. She was purposefully, she inserted herself into ICE operations to block them, create traffic. When she's told to move, she does not move. She acts dumb, like she doesn't understand what's going on. And then when she's finally told, okay, you're going to have to get out, we're going to detain you so that we can then move your car and then we can continue our operations, she acted like, oh no, and she plays the victim. If you're going to ask me to have sympathy for somebody who is purposefully manipulating our emotions, I'm not going to. That's just something you're going to have to understand, is that when we have people that are out here trying to manipulate us and prevent us from doing what is required in order to save our country, I'm not going to feel bad about what's happening to this person. And it doesn't make me a bad person. And that's something that you should understand. Am I a bad person for not wanting to be manipulated, emotionally manipulated from somebody who's intentionally trying to create this picture?
There was a quote I saw. A friend of mine asked me if I wanted to put out there, and I said, hold on, I think I can do better with a video message. And the quote said, it's okay to admit you were for something and no longer are. It's okay to say that you like something in principle, but not in its execution. And then it went on to say the best time to speak up would have been earlier. The second best time to speak up is now.
And the problem with that is that we don't think that we're doing something wrong. And from our perspective, we're not. So what are we going to come out against? You know, I don't know. Your perspective, you have a completely different perspective on what is actually happening on the ground. And so, yeah, if we were to say, oh yeah, what you're saying is all true, yeah, we could just easily be against it, but we don't view these events how you are concluding them to be.
Because years from now, when there is nothing to lose, we will all have been against this. But
years from now, if we did not do anything about this, we wouldn't have a country at all. It would be destroyed. It would not look like the country that we've had. It would just be destroyed. If you start looking over at what's happening in Europe, you can see where we were going, and things are going really badly over there because they just let anybody in, and they continued to let people in.
Time to speak up and state your case is now. Many people might not believe this, but I firmly believe the United States of America is better than this. America is better than zip-tying senior citizens. America is better than chasing down agricultural workers or abducting day laborers at Home Depot. America is better than using children for bait.
Agents made
This is actually an example of the manipulation. This child was not being used as bait. This child was, as the father was coming home, the ICE were like, hey, we're here to detain this person. He gets out, he abandons the child, runs away. They try to say, hey, can you take the child to the mother? The mother refuses, so then the ICE then has to take the child into custody because nobody is claiming the child. Now, that's probably information that you didn't really know about. And those are the kinds of things that I think you should investigate. When you hear about these kinds of stories, if you're hearing something that's like, oh my goodness, do a little bit of a deep dive and you'll figure out like what you're being told initially is not the full story.
Knock on the door, asking to let them in order to see if anyone else was home.
We are better than this. We are better than inflicting terror on a wide swath of this public.
The problem to me with that statement is that I don't think that we are committing widespread terror across the public. We are actively seeking out and giving opportunities. First, we gave opportunities for people who arrived here illegally to exit the country and then have a pass that in effect allows them to be able to come back. But if they do not, then they are permanently removed. It's a hard risk. If you're going to stick around, you're going to, and you get caught, you're gone from this country. You're banned from this country forever. So,
based only on the language they speak and the color of their skin. And I think that many of you believe we're better than this too.
This whole notion of them being like judging people based off of the color of their skin and the language that they speak, that's something that just never really makes any sense to me, because everywhere in this country there are U.S. citizens, immigrants, legal, who are of color. So to just make the assumption, which I don't think anybody rationally, reasonably does, that, oh, just because you have an accent, or just because you're not white, that you're somehow illegally here. To me, I feel like there's something wrong with that assumption that might want to be looked into a little more.
Too. I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'll be devastated, because I will have completely lost faith in the United States.
And what you're wrong about is you have the wrong perception of what we believe. If you believe that we believe those things, that's not it. We don't believe your version of us. What we want you to do is to step back, insert yourself into our perspective so that you can see things from our perspective, so that you can judge from our perspective. But right now what you're doing is you are in your perspective looking at what you interpret to be our perspective, and you're judging that. That's not correct.
To America and its people. But you can make a difference by just speaking truth to power.
All we say to America.
In a large sense, that's actually kind of what I'm doing here, is I am speaking truth to power. You know, hey, there's a lot that's going on here. And I think that there's a lot of lying that's happening and manipulation and emotions. And I think that you've become, I don't like the term victim, but a victim of this narrative, of this propaganda that is villainizing the people who lend you their spare room and give you directions and really would do anything for you, to be honest. I mean, you know, if you needed something, I'm all there, dude. I have no issue, you know. So it's a matter of perspective.
Is be true to what you said on paper.
Donald Trump reads the polls. 35% is bad. It's not as bad as the 10% that I think is more accurate. Please make a difference by using your voice. Thank you for listening, and have a nice day.
Thank you very much. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to keep this as short as I can. Thank you, Mick. Take care.